everybody. Happy Thursday. How are you? It's good to see everybody again. Hello, Ping.
Hello, Amy. How are you?
I'm good. Apparently, my hair is so big it touches the top of the screen. Trying to make myself smaller.
You got the booth going on.
I know. It is what it is. And you can probably hear my chair wiggling around. So we have a fun show for you tonight. First of all, thank you for all the really positive feedback. The way you all are responding makes us feel really good because what you like about it was our concept for this show. So that means that it's working. It means we can build upon it. It means we can make things better. Do you want to say one thing though before we go and say hi to everybody? There have been some comments about like, oh, I wish Ping would put his camera on or what have you. So I get it. I totally get it, but I don't want anybody pressured to have to put their camera on. I don't want anybody feeling that. And I haven't even talked to Ping about it. I've never brought it up to him myself. I never wanted to put my camera on. I finally did. I don't like it. It's hard to sit here and look at yourself the entire time. It's distracting. If you have ADHD, it's horrible. And I'll tell you this. When I started out in true crime, I decided to use my real name. And that way it protected me from anybody that wanted to dox me or anything like that. And then when I got married, I used my married name. I have had some issues professionally because my face is out here and my name is out here. And a lot of times employers don't want to work with anybody that has any sort of social media presence, no matter how small or how large. So, I mean, there's reasons why people don't do it. I don't know what anybody's reason is for not, but I respect them. And they just kind of wanted to put that out there. So on that note, say hello to everybody in the chat. Hello, Marilyn Landis. Oh, I'm sorry. She says, hopefully a lighter topic than the Turpin case. Sorry. That was my subject on an earlier thing today.
The Turpin isn't dinner conversation? It's not something you talk about with the in-laws?
Yeah, you know, it's like you read The Night Before Christmas and then some Turpin court documents, don't you know? I don't know. So I see Lux and Emily Narv and Petunia and Tina Reddington. I have to scroll back. I can only see so much. So a lot of familiar faces, always nice. Kathy, thank you, Kate, Terry Cure. I'm going to say it right, Terry Queer. I asked you, and now I got to do it. Red like wine again. Hello. All right. So I have a couple of things, and one of them I've already said somewhere else, but I feel like it's important to say here. So, you know, Ping, how we've had 911 as like the 3-digit phone number for fire, police, and medical.
Right. It's your emergency services number.
Right. So I'm really excited that we just stepped up, and we now have 988 for mental health emergencies. And I think that's really
a good idea.
Yeah, because there used to be a lot of confusion about who you called, or you call this line or call that line, the same way there was before 911. And I don't think it's any secret that I blame a lot of crime in this country on mental health crises. And it's wrong for families to cover, and it's not wrong, but I feel badly that families are pressured to cover up and not talk about what's going on with like their children or their spouse or what have you. And I just don't like the stigma in general. And I think this is like a good step in the right direction. It's 3 simple digits. It's not having to look for that card or go back and look for that ad or look in the phone book or find like sometimes when you're looking on an internet direct, when I say phone book, I mean like an internet search, there are things that will come up that aren't really emergency services. There's some other motive behind getting you to call. And so I think this is really a good thing. So anyway, that's my first thing. And then my second thing is I found a fun little website that has to do with true crime. Do you want to see it?
I want to see it. Show us.
Okay, so hold on here. Let me share my screen. I always hate that I have to say, I'm going to share my screen, because if I don't, I can't have it ready to go. You know what I mean? That's something that I wish we could improve upon in this platform. So can you see that?
It's showing to me House Creep.
Yes. Let me see what it looks like. Okay, here it is. Okay. So it's called, the web address, and I'll put it in the description. It's called housecreep.com. And it says, find homes in your neighborhood with a curious or criminal history. Start exploring our crowdsourced database of stigmatized homes. So you can either type in an address here, or they have things like near me, houses where someone died, murder houses, real haunted houses, former grow ops and meth labs, trending, most views, recent listings, directory articles, and FAQs. So I didn't look up this address before. This is just one of somebody I know that used to live there. So I'm going to put their address in here and see what comes up. Ooh. So let's see. For some reason, it's picking up Maryland, even though I said maybe you just need the street address. What is going on here?
If it can't find it, it's probably going to go to the next search, like the next word. So if
Yeah.
it can't find like the state, it'll go to the next most important
There you go.
identifier.
There you go. You're probably right. So let's just look on. We do explore. Let's do murder houses. So, for instance, the first thing that comes up is 2404 West 13th Street North, Wichita, Kansas. Vicky Wergoli, I don't know how you'd say that. 28 was strangled to death by Dennis Rader. The serial killer known as BTK Rader posed as a telephone repairman to get to the home, and then you could read the article. I just thought it was like, I mean, not fun, but if you're into true crime, like maybe you're in another city and you want to go and see if there's anything true crime related that, you know, that here's Kristen Smart's 710 White Court, Arroyo Grande, California, 5300 Northwest 410 Loop, San Antonio. I know where that is, actually. I just thought it was kind of an interesting little site. And then you can, over here, you can like filter out, you know, like if you don't want paranormal, or you don't want drug, or you don't want you know, whatever it is that you don't want. And you can do date ranges. So
I like how one of them is just sketchy. So it's like, do you have that house on your street that no one wants to knock on? That one.
Mm-hmm. Sketchy. But anyway, I thought that was fun. And then let's see, what was the other thing I found today? That was neat. I think, let me see if this automatically does it. It doesn't. I have a list of suggestions here for StreamYard. And
that website will end up being a really powerful tool in time too. In its
Yeah.
infancy, it'll only really have like maybe famous cases or things that are in the news. But as it evolves over time and gets user input, that thing can be really powerful.
Oh yeah, because you know, I live on a there aren't that many people on my street because they're like larger size plots, right? So like we don't have anybody across the street from us. We have a canal on either side of us, and then we have big trees. So we have neighbors to the right and left of us, but we don't see them. if that makes sense. And so there was a lot of like police activity down the street many years ago, 8 years ago or something. And we couldn't figure out what's going on, and there wasn't anything listed. And it turns out that it was a whole like meth ring. They weren't making meth there, but like the person that owned the house was, and then it laid empty for like a long time or whatever. And it, you know, that would have been kind of cool to be able to figure out. Do you have a website like this that you go to on a regular basis and figure it out? Or if you're moving somewhere, or if you're renting like a VRBO or Airbnb, something like that. Like, have you heard, there's a lot of stories coming out now about Airbnb in particular, and about a lot of scams where people like get to the unit and they either find interior cameras, which are a violation, like, and I'm talking about interior cameras like in the bedrooms and bathrooms, or just you know, the neighborhood isn't the way it was listed, or there's a problem with the neighbors or something like that. There seems to be a lot of that going on. And what happens is sometimes, allegedly, Airbnb gets wind of this and they drop the people from their service, and then they don't necessarily take care of the person renting or the person that moved out in the middle of the night because they were scared, or locks on the doors not working, or the landlord can remote unlock and they're finding doors unlocked in the middle of the night, wondering like why, things like that. And so I would think that, like, for instance, in an Airbnb situation, a lot of times people, like, you know, they go through the proper channels. They report it to Airbnb or whatever agency. But also, if you find a camera in the bathroom of someplace you're renting, you need to call the police too. So that's documented. You know, that's just not right. And then you would maybe see things like this on a, you know, as they collect data, on a centralized website. And that would be helpful because I think there's, I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but I think in the past couple of years, I've probably, and I've been traveling like for work and stuff, like full time for work when I was younger, all the time into my 30s, 5 days a week. But, and sometimes long extended trips, like 3 months, you know, 2 months or whatever. And I learned to be a safe traveler, but, and I've never let my guard down, but I think I've become more comfortable in the last couple of years, and especially with these house swaps, and, you know, we use a VRBO and things like that. But they're not as safe as you might think they are when you hear some of these stories, and the stories are becoming more and more frequent.
I feel like we've heard more and more in the news and media recently about nervous investors for Airbnb. And what I mean by that is people who either own a home or have an investment property, they put it on Airbnb, but they're so paranoid about their home being trashed or something that they
Mm-hmm.
become very OCD with the guests and make their stay uncomfortable, or more than that. And I think those stories are coming out more and more often. So if you're the type of person who's like, you put a coaster out of place, I don't think Airbnb is for you. And
Yeah,
yeah, you got to have a level of trust there, I think. And I think you've got to do that to allow your guests to have a good stay.
I agree. It's interesting because I to the point you just made, I have seen some videos of hosts, Airbnb hosts, and they like to do these little videos of like what the cleanup process after each guest leaves. You know, and sometimes they're like, "Oh, they're such good guests. They followed all the rules," and then sometimes they're like, "Oh, look, ew." Call me weird, but that's a privacy thing. Like, don't, like, she's not saying who rented her place, all right? But she shows, and there's 2 or 3 people that I've seen do this. She shows enough of the place, like where you automatically recognize her very eclectic living room in her rental. You recognize the pool area. Do you know what I mean? Like it's that in itself, but she's super critical. She'll be like, well, you know, the couch is a little disheveled. It's like it was a rental property for a week. Like I know we rented someplace over spring break, and I mean the night before we left, like the instructions weren't like crazy. It was basically like make sure in the morning all the bed linens are like on the bathroom floor. Do a dry sweep, remove everything from the refrigerator, make sure all the dishes are done or in the dishwasher. I think that was pretty much it. Oh, and empty the garbage. They wanted the garbage emptied. So we emptied all the garbage. But that in itself, in a vacation with, kids and everything, that took my sister-in-law did it. My sister-in-law and I did it together. And me, sorry if you're listening, the person that hates me because I use bad grammar, I'm so sorry. I'm working on it. My sister-in-law and me, we I'm gonna get a phone call after this. We did those tasks, but it still took like 3.5 hours. If I'd done it by myself, it probably would have taken 5. It's a lot. You try really hard. Most people aren't going to trash your place, and it's always a risk. It's just like renting, just like being a landlord with like regular apartments. Like sometimes a kid is going to drop a gun rubber on the floor and not pick it up, and a parent's not going to see it because it flies under the couch and then it flies out the moment you leave. You know what I mean? It's weird.
I feel like there's courtesy cleaning, and that's like you kind of put it back the way you found it.
Yeah.
But I feel like if you are paying a cleaning fee as well, I don't think you really have much right to complain. I mean, as long as it's tidy and the rubbish is tied up, and
Right. Well, I
if
think
it,
yeah.
there's
I'm
some
sorry.
real anal people that are like, oh my god, they left crumbs in the toaster. Like, come on.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of what I've seen lately on these things. Now the people we rented from were amazing. Um, and I even like left a note. I was like, my kids pulled every freaking board game out of your thing the night before we were leaving. And like I sat on the floor and sorted out pieces. I had them help me do it. I'm like, I hope you got them all the right place. Like, but whatever. So Luna Blue, I think it was, she said, I'd like to know how to spot cameras in the bathroom and the bedroom. So if Pink doesn't mind, I can give you some travel tips.
Yeah, you can do it. I can do it on the IT side too after you do it. So
Okay. All right. So there are little devices that you can buy that will detect, they run around $50. That will detect recording devices. They're not 100% accurate. Some things that you can look for are irregular switch plates, like where outlets, alarm clocks. Nobody uses them, so unplug them and put them in a drawer. Most people use their cell phone, I would think, at this point. I always used to unplug it and wrap the cord around it and put it in a drawer. There is a trick where if you pick up the phone and you get the dial tone in the hotel room, try unplugging it. If you still hear noise, that's like a bad sign. I don't suggest unplugging the phone in your room, but there's like Ping probably knows it. There's like a little procedure you can do to make yourself a little bit safer with those. And I always used to just put it in the drawer. Remotes are a big source. And if you're ever staying in a hotel or an Airbnb and you think that there might be cameras watching you that you haven't been made aware of or aren't in your rental contract, one of the tips is to go up on the TV channels, like to the 3 and 4,000s. And that's usually where they will show closed circuit cameras. And so, like, if you see your driveway or you see your living room or you see yourself sitting in front of the TV, that's a huge clue. And then there's the obvious ones. There's like anything that you see that doesn't make sense, that has a red like blinking light. Any computers that they leave in there for you to use, you can put, sometimes they'll put like especially in private rentals, they'll have like a computer desk in the kitchen or something like that. Just travel with electrical tape. Seriously. You can block off anywhere where you think there might be a camera, but those are like the basic things. I used to always cover the peephole on my doors in hotel rooms. That was like a really big thing. And because I wasn't prepared to talk about it, that's kind of what I have off the top of my head. I would say anything in question that you're not using that you think might be, put it in a drawer. And that includes, especially in hotel rooms, like remotes, and in rental properties, remotes can be a source of them too. But you can check those by going on the higher channels on the TV, and usually those will bounce back with like wherever, whatever channel they use to view. Does that make sense? Did I explain that right, Ping?
Yeah, I think that's for wired video cameras. A
Mm-hmm.
lot of what they are using now is wireless devices. Now that wireless technology is getting cheaper,
Mm-hmm.
to check that, you want to open up your phone and go to Wi-Fi, and you want to start scanning networks and walk around the whole building because they're short range.
Mm-hmm.
Often a lot of these owners maybe even live above you in the next story or next door or something like that. So they don't need a very long range to activate that camera. So you might see an open network that you don't recognize. It might even be something like IP something camera, or that's quite common. You'll see those. The best ones are the scanners. They're really, really good. They'll pick up any type of open signal that shouldn't be there. And the other advice I've seen is, especially for they're not targeting men. I'm sorry, men. Nobody wants to see naked men. Um, it's all about, unfortunately, they would want to record women. Unfortunately, so anything around pants height that looks out of place, that's
Oh,
where you want to be looking for things.
okay. Hold on 1 second. Okay, never mind.
You're right.
Yeah, yeah. I'm cleaning off a bookshelf, and I had some books stacked, and I mean, they haven't fallen in like 3 days, and it's one of those projects I took on and was like, I'm going to do this all in one day. And of course, I know I'm not. I took out too much to do it once, and they just fell.
That's all right. I still have a like a tall boy dresser that I bought when I moved in this house 5 years ago that I still haven't built, and it's in its box still.
Oh yeah,
So
no, I get it. Now, what I did was I came up here to organize my books, and while I was here, I was feeling so industrious. I was like, I think I'll take everything out of every drawer. And then I found myself so overwhelmed. And I tried all my tricks, like, first we'll deal with all the red things, let's make piles, let's get boxes. So it's not all over the place, but it's in disarray. And yeah, it's just how it goes. It's like, I know for myself, I need to do things in zones, in small sections, but sometimes I get a little egotistical, and I think so that whole book falling thing is my fault. No big deal. But yeah, the Wi-Fi thing is a good suggestion. I think the scanners like are really great for like house rentals and things of that nature. Um,
anything that looks like it has a hole in it that shouldn't be there.
yeah,
They're normally about the size of a bobby pin head, or like one of those round pin heads. They're very little, but anything. It could be a toilet roll holder. It could be an electrical outlet. It could even be someone has left like a device, like it could look like a man's shaver. They have cameras in them. Lipstick things. They've got them in them. So just, be observant and, yeah, check around when you first get there.
My rule has always kind of been like, if it's I like the waist high thing. That's good. Hadn't really ever said that out loud, but yeah, that makes perfect sense. I think my rule has always been like, anything that you're not going to use, that you put a question that doesn't make sense. If you don't have tape, and tape doesn't always work because you don't know where, then just put it in a drawer and then put it back where you found it when you left. Or say, you know what? I don't want to stay here because I already found 4 things that have cameras in them and I'm out. And
Well, there was that couple in Germany, and they had been recorded having sex in the bedroom during their stay, and the owner of the property actually was like, "Oh, I saw you having sex," and blah blah blah, and they were like freaked out, and they actually went to the cops, and he was charged with a I can't remember. There's some law in Germany about recording people in private activities like sex, um, and he was charged with a crime over it.
as you should. It's frightening. When I was traveling, I went through the kind of like, I don't know what you would call it, like the technology renaissance or metamorphosis. I don't know, pick your word, upswing. Like it was just changing all the time and getting more and more sophisticated. And I remember people I traveled with talking about being in corporate, like, because sometimes like on a longer assignment, you would get like a corporate apartment as opposed to a hotel room, and talk about like VCRs, like, okay, it's 2002. And there's a VCR in here, and there's no tapes. So I'm like, put it in a drawer.
No one's watching My Little Pony on this VCR anymore.
No, no.
I like the corporate apartments, but if you are traveling alone or even traveling as a couple or whatever, some of the cheapest things are the best things to take with you. They have those door locks that actually go over
Yes.
the latch, and then they push against the door. So it doesn't matter if someone actually can unlock the door and open, you can't get past that because it actually pushes on the other side. They're like $5 on Amazon, and they're probably the
Yeah.
greatest thing you can buy.
Yeah, there's a lot of things like that, and you can't, whether or not you utilize weapons or whatever. You're not trained in self defense or anything. There are things. I used to travel with this Maglite, and it didn't weigh anything. Well, I mean, it has some weight to it, but I could travel with it in my suitcase. And then when I got to where I was going, I just ran to the drugstore and bought the batteries and stuff. And man, that thing's heavy. Like once it's put together or whatever, you can use it for multiple reasons. You can pick it up and blind somebody with it. It has a nice reach to it.
Boy, did you get weird looks going through customs with that.
Oh, I got weird looks going through. Like, anyway, I traveled with, well, before 9/11, I used to be the only girl on the travel team, and they like to put things in my suitcase, if you know what I mean. And it wasn't funny. They couldn't do it after 9/11. They would have gone to, I would have gotten in trouble for it. But, because it would have been like, how's anybody had possession of your luggage other than yourself? And I'd have to be like, every time, like, yeah, those bozos over there, you're not flying today. Great, thanks. I just got fired.
Apparently, it's really common in like, especially like Texas, Florida, and some other states where people forget to remove their handguns from luggage, and they'll often go through TSA and then be held up for like 3 hours while they're like, "Why do you have a gun in your bag?" And they're like, "I just forgot." And apparently, it's really common.
Well, I told you about my last trip, right? Over.
Oh right, the little thing, yeah.
Yeah, so my stepson, so we had the kids with us because we do 50-50 custody, but mom was having some issues. So we had them for like a very long stint of time, because usually we're on a rotation like every 3 to 4 days. Like they flip back and forth, and it's not good for them, but it's Florida. So they happened to be with us for a very long period of time. And then one of the 13-year-old, she was in a play on Saturday night. And on Saturday, So we were going, or on Saturday afternoon. So we were going to the play to see her performance on Saturday. She had 2 performances. And then their mom and their dad, my husband, had scheduled their vacations at the same time. So we were going to switch the kids, and they were leaving for the airport after the play, and so were we, basically. And so Chris and I had all our luggage ready to go. And I had asked the kids to sign Father's Day cards because it was the Saturday before Father's Day. And the 11-year-old put the Father's Day card in my bag, and also a like when you go to like a museum, like a bullet on a keychain. Okay, so we go through security. I get flagged. I'm never surprised by that. I get flagged all the time, every single time. And I am one of those people. I know how to take everything out. I know, like, one of my very good friends, like, works for TSA high up at the Orlando International Airport. She didn't happen to be there that day. I could have used her. Anyway, they kept asking me, like, what's in your bag? What's in your bag? And I'm like, nothing. They're like, did you pack it yourself? I'm like, yeah. And they're like, can't you think of anything that's in here? And all of a sudden I was like, oh my God. I'm like, I told my stepson to put a Father's Day card in there. I said he and his dad like to collect coins. I said, so maybe he put a coin in there. And she goes, no, it's a bullet. And I was like, oh my God. So then they had to call over all these people, and it ended up working out. But oh my God, it was just like, don't let anybody touch your bags. Don't. And it was like this. It wasn't like a live round or anything, but that's what it looks like on camera. So it's kind of crazy.
That was not a fun afternoon, was it, Amy?
No. I almost had to ask for my baggage back so I could change my pants. I was like, it was not what I expected at all.
They're scary too. TSA, the times I've been to America, they're so heavy-handed compared to our customs in Australia. Our customs in Australia are jerks, but they're not like so heavy-handed. As we're in America, they're like, to the wall, pants off, hand up. And I'm like, hey, whoa, away.
Yeah. Well, you're right when you say that, but I've never minded it. And I've never been one of those, like, I watch people online, like, complaining, like, look at everything. Well, guess what? I'm willing to stand in this line for 4 hours not to get blown up in the sky. Like, sorry. I fully support everything and every bag they check, and I'd rather them be safe than sorry and all of that. But I think it was because I had no idea what they were looking for. Like, literally, it was going through my head, like, what could they possibly be seeing? And also, I've been meaning to ask my friend what the tactic was for, like, you sure there's not anything in it? Why don't you just rip my bag apart and find it? Like, there must be some reason there. Like, I have to admit that I have it, or I don't know. I'm not really
It might
sure.
be like a truth-telling exercise.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of these people, they try to judge whether you're a truthful person or not. And they might have been trying to judge whether you, one, actually knew if anything was in there, two, like, that kind of stuff. They're just trying to figure out whether you're actually telling the truth or hiding something, I think, a lot of the time.
Right. I think you're right. That makes sense. All right. So I'll show you my other thing, and then
All right.
and then I'll let you take the wheel. Hold on. No, I was having trouble with this before. So, okay. So this isn't true crime. This is just kind of fun. So it's called playphrase.me. And what it is like, when you're trying to think about, like, what movie a phrase came from, this is a website that will take you to it. So try to find one without swear words. Let's just pick something simple. So you can type it in, but you have to register. And the thing is, like, it's going to show my information on the screen when I do that. And I don't want to do that. So let's just pick something with less than 100. All right, here's one with 101. Like, I don't know why if I click on that. I don't know why I did that. just go through and give you like a montage of all of the movies where they do it. So let me see if I can find another one. I just thought it was neat. I don't know. Like it's a time suck. I obviously don't have time to be doing this, but it's a fun little like escape and a good way to like reference if you're like trying to remember that line. I go back to little.
Mine would just be all Friends lines and stuff from How I Met Your Mother.
Oh, is that your other show? I didn't know that.
I love that show. I thought How I Met Your Mother was probably the best sitcom since Friends.
So I'm gonna guess your favorite character on the show. Is it Barney? Is that his name? No.
Yeah, I like Barney, and I thought he was really, really funny. But I think I liked Robin as well, and Ted was always Ted Mosby. He was always a lot of fun as well. One of the greatest episodes of that show was where his best friend. I can't think of his name right now. He's played by Jason Statham.
Yeah, isn't it Sudeikis or something?
So that's it.
Yeah.
It's the one where his father dies and he has to travel back to Wisconsin. And it's like, I think it's one of the more touching episodes of the mini seasons. That's a great show. They actually released the How I Met Your Father this year on Disney, and it had Hilary Duff played the main character, so she played the female. I think she played the female Ted Mosby. Anyway, it was all right. Wasn't as good.
I haven't seen any of that. I will tell you for me, in general, sitcoms make me very uncomfortable. When they start to do awkward things, I get awkward and I don't want to watch it happen. Friends was probably the only one where I could get through the cringe without that. It had just enough. But oddly enough, How I Met Your Mother was kind of the same way. I didn't watch it religiously, but I did like, I guess a lot like Friends. You know how some sitcoms, like something will happen and they never reference it again? Like they kept the continuity of the show by what happened in previous episodes.
Like how Ross had a monkey, yeah.
Yes, exactly. Or Robin's blue violin. Like,
what do you mean they don't reference that? That's in the very last episode.
No, they do. They do. That's what I'm saying. It was one of the ones that does. Like, if you watch, I can't think of what like other.
You mean like just where the story's not? There's a lot of loopholes between episodes.
Yeah, the Friends and How I Met Your Mother seem to be cohesive. Like they kept track of that stuff, and they referenced old boyfriends or referenced, a change in the, like something that broke, a chair that broke, it was broken, you never saw it again, or like whatever it was, whatever it was. Where I think there were other sitcoms that weren't like that. It was like, whoa, wait, what just happened here? Like, do you not remember what you presented to us 3 weeks ago? Because that's all gone. It's weird. But yeah, I did like that one.
Big Bang Theory had a real sort of love and hate relationship with continuality. For a lot of it, they were really good, and then for other things, they would forget storylines that happened like 2 seasons ago. Even though I still love that show, and I thought it made science cool, very the same way that MythBusters made science cool. But they had an issue with that, where they would just forget stuff that happened last season.
I never watched Big Bang Theory. I tried. I couldn't.
It took me years to get into it. I watched it when it first came out and I was like, this is really cheesy. And then I tried again and I thought the same. And then a year or so before it was about to finish, I tried once more. And then I got through the first 2 seasons and then I really got into it. The first couple of seasons are a bit crap. But when they start getting their friends and the friend circle going, it's a lot better.
Yeah. I just maybe I'll go back. Sometimes I go back and try years later, and it takes. I'm the same with movies. Like sometimes or series like Breaking Bad. Like people kept telling me to
I've
watch.
never watched it.
Okay, well, it took me 9 attempts. 9 times I never made it through the first episode. Finally, like one day, like it took, and I actually liked it. Tracy said I was a Nip Tuck girl. That was a good show. I forgot about that. That was on FX. FX had some good shows. But now I don't watch very much on TV at all. The only show I watch on a consistent basis is Jeopardy, and we tape it so that we don't miss it. But oh, gosh, I don't know if I should say this, Aaron. Well, I'll just say it. I'm not very fond of Mayim Bialik, and so I don't know what it is about her, and I feel badly because I don't know her.
Are you an Alex Trebek fan instead?
Well, I love it when Ken Jennings. It's not like nobody can replace Alex. I've liked Ken Jennings when he's done it. I've liked Buzzy when he's done it. You know, some other people. But
Didn't Aaron Rodgers do it last summer?
Yes. Oh my gosh. Somebody just posted my favorite show ever. Well, actually, there's two. I love Mad Men. Did you ever watch it, Ping?
No, unfortunately, it's not my type of TV show. I'm not a fan of like time period stuff.
Oh,
It's not something I'm into. So
Oh, Mad Men, and then my all-time favorite, and actually down at the bottom of my stairs right now, part of this clean out, I have every season of Lost on DVD or Blu-ray, depending on which season.
okay, show has to end now. You have to go. That show was the dumbest show ever.
No, I love that show. Oh, shut your mouth.
Okay, like the first season, yes, it was good, but then it's like 8 seasons. They're like, I had a hallucinogenic toad, and like it saw the future. It's like, come on.
No, I loved every minute of it. It was like science fiction and everything. Like, I don't know. I got really attached to the characters, and I cannot believe.
It just didn't make sense to me. I was like, it has to make sense. They crashed a plane or whatever, and then they have to get off the island. Why is her brother in the island and stuff? And what? It's like, no. It's too much for me.
I remember when I first started watching it, social media was pretty much exclusively Facebook, I would say. And there were still like fan pages and stuff like that. And for like me and this guy that used to date in high school, we're geeks, okay? And I'm very into like finding symbolism and allegories and all that. We were like, okay, who's the Christ-like figure? And who's the sacrificial lamb? And who, like all this stuff. And what is this symbol? And it was, I guess maybe I just got to dork out for a reason and be sort of socially acceptable for a couple years. I don't know.
I mean, everyone likes stuff differently. Even if we like similar stuff, there's obviously going to be stuff we like that's not the same. But to Marilyn Landis' point, she says, love Lost into sci-fi stuff, mysteries. I can tell you I have a secret, what do they call it? Like a shameful thing you watch? Like a guilty pleasure?
Yeah, guilty pleasure.
I watch a lot of Hallmark Channel, and I love their mysteries. They got one called Mystery 101, and I'm like, you have to produce an 8 episode. Like they're not going to apparently, but I love it. I know it's like the worst crime, it's like the worst crime shows ever. But like we always have them on in the background. I get attached to them.
That makes me laugh because when people because we live in Orlando, we get a lot of house guests, and I mean, I'm not even gonna say it out loud right now, but we get a lot of house guests, and when they come, they'll like look for our DVR, I guess, to see like, is there anything taped or what we want to watch, and there's all these like Hallmark shows on there, and they automatically assume it's me. It's not me. It's Chris. He likes those, and he likes romantic comedies.
See, isn't that weird? Mm-hmm. Nobody knows why that's weird, but we know why that's weird.
It's very weird. And the thing is, like, he's like this 6'2" ex-pro skateboarder, like military retired veteran, like built like a football player, and I'm like, short, and they're like, oh, look at Amy with all her Lifetime movies. I'm like, bullshit. Those are not mine. Mine are like Autopsy, um,
Forensic Files.
yeah,
And
Reels ID, or I'll even sometimes, if I'm really interested in the case, watch those junk shows. I'm embarrassed to tell you, like Friends of Casey Anthony Speak Out. I'll watch it just to see,
I
Um,
I actually watched, what was it on Lifetime? It was like the story of Melrose Place and 90210, and I watched it and I was like, this is like the most cheesy thing ever, but it was
mhm.
actually quite good.
It's funny about 90210. My best friend and I, we went. My mom used to like lobby in Washington and stuff, and she took my best friend and I were like, I don't know if we were juniors or seniors in high school. I'd have to match up the dates. I can't remember. And so she took us to Washington with her, and we were, we were excited because we got to go do things on our own while she was in meetings and stuff. And I remember one morning or one afternoon, we were getting ready to go somewhere, and there was a show on TV called Beverly Hills Teens. And we were like, what is this? And we were like kind of making fun of it, but then like couldn't stop watching. And it ended up, I guess it was the pilot for the show. Because like a couple months later, it was like 90210 is what they called it. And it didn't matter who you were. Jocks watched it, punk rockers watched it, metalheads watched it. I mean, they may not have admitted it, but everybody watched that show. So I can see, like, watching the
What
making
was the
of.
what was the school age one called? Like
Saved
if
by
you're in high school. Yeah, Saved by the Bell, that's it.
the Bell. Well, Beverly Hills 90210 was high school too. They just
Yeah.
took it
That
into
was like more like I'm 25 playing a 19-year-old.
yeah. Well, and Saved by the Bell was a little bit more like uh, situational comedy as opposed to like uh,
Who's dating who?
teen drama. Yeah.
Mm.
And like maybe like a little bit more after school special, like, gee, Jesse, you seem kind of hyper. Well, I've been taking these pills, but it's just don't tell me. You know what I mean? It was like, I have to tell, like it was
Amy,
just,
I still remember back in the 90s in Australia, they had a after school special, and my mom's like, I know you're grounded this week, but you're gonna watch this. And it was
what
it
was it?
it was this Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles after school special where like
Stop.
one of their friends smokes marijuana or something, and they're like, oh, he smokes, oh, tell him it's bad and all this stuff. But I've never been able to find it. I don't even know if it still exists. I think it was
I
like
was
a
just about to
one-off.
say, now I have to find it. I really have to see like a big turtle on the half shell. Like,
Telling people not to smoke. It's, yeah, I don't know. It was one of those things. But they made a big deal out of it here. I think every TV channel in Australia played it at the same time on the same day. That's how like really important it was for, I don't know, someone here.
that's crazy. Because I mean, I just can't imagine. Like, I guess maybe are Ninja Turtles like huge in Australia? Like,
In the 90s they were like the biggest thing ever. They were like the biggest cartoon you could think of.
that's crazy. I just remember like the regular after school specials, and I do remember the early Lifetime movies that
You
were.
mean like the PBS ones, like those ones with the actual actors, like the little kids and that?
Well, they weren't on PBS. They were like on regular TV, and they would be literally they would be on after school. Like it was, um, maybe I'm trying to think. Oprah was on at 4 o'clock, so and the soap operas ended at like 3. So maybe between like they would have been like in their heyday before Oprah Winfrey. Um, but they were always like teenage pregnancy, drugs, drunk driving. But I remember because I was kind of young. I remember more of like the Lifetime movies that like replayed. Like I remember um, Candace Cameron from Full House doing a movie with that kid Fred Savage from forgot what show that was. It took place.
Boy Meets World. No,
Oh,
Boy Meets Girl. Sorry.
Wonder Years.
Oh, that one. Sorry, wrong
Yeah,
Savage.
yeah. They both have big heads. It's the other one. Yeah. And he like was a football player and she was a cheerleader and like he secretly beat her up and this stuff. And like I remember those movies and I remember like bullying movies and stuff like that. Marilyn Landis, you're so funny. Sci-fi movies from the 50s. When I was in art school, we had to do like a mini portfolio set of like kind of double feature sci-fi movies. My favorite piece I ever did was Attack of the 50-Foot Woman. I loved that. Like I don't usually like anything I do because you pick it apart forever. But yeah, I did that and then I remember in the 80s there was like this movie called Attack of the Killer Tomatoes, which is kind of like have you ever heard of that thing?
Oh yeah, and the Toxic Avenger. Of course, I've heard of
Yes,
those.
Toxic
They're
Avenger.
amazing.
Yes, like all of those remind me of the old monster movies. But yeah, we still actually I have downstairs in my because I'm a little different. In my dining room, I have a giant or not giant, but it's a pretty big Godzilla poster. And but it's not really a poster, it's an iron-on. When my grandmother died, she had saved all these magazines and stuff and like earmarked them. And I didn't have time to go through all of them because a lot of them just my relatives threw them away. But I happened to look through one and I remember it was like McCall's. I think it was McCall's. And it was like a quarter fold. And he pulled it out and it was this big iron-on, like you could make like a pillowcase or a bedspread. And it was Godzilla, so it's like backwards. But
That is very cool.
I have it framed in my dining room. Yeah.
It's very cool. You know, I think a lot of people in America grew up with those like late night movies of like Gojira and
Mm-hmm.
they used to play them every weekend in America in the 80s, 90s, 70s and stuff. They weren't big here unfortunately. So I didn't get to see them until I was older. But yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. They're fun. Though like the Toxic Avenger ones are funny. And there was another one, I'm trying to think. Now it just slipped my head. I get distracted. I go over and I look at the chat and then but I love that you all can relate to some of these things. What does this say? The best movie is is that Lepus? About giant murdering bunnies. If you're bunny obsessed like I am. Oh my God, no, I've never heard of that. But I did get my kids into a cartoon called Bunnicula, which is weird for me because you remember I don't like blood on teeth, but I like Bunnicula. I think it's cute.
That movie that she just described reminds me very much of Arachnophobia from the 90s. The
Oh
one about
yeah.
the spiders.
Yes.
That movie, I tried to show Mrs. Ping one time and she was like, I'll kill it. I'll kill the TV. Just turn it off.
I've never seen it. I think what makes me laugh is when they do one like I don't know which came first, snakes on a plane or snakes on a train, but like why?
Because it's snakes on a plane. I mean, it's great. I mean, what would you do if there was a million snakes on a
Oh,
plane and you're in the air?
no, I would just die because I can't take snakes. I would just die. Hey, Sherry.
You live in Florida. Isn't there like giant pythons that just live in your
Yeah.
backyard?
Yes. So, aw, Julie and Brandon and I are watching. Yay! Hi, Brandon. Aw,
G'day, people.
Katie love the Wonder Years. Isn't it funny that so Mayim Bialik came out of Blossom that was on at the same time as the Wonder Years, and Mayim became a neuroscientist, and Winnie Cooper on the Wonder Years became like a doctorate prize-winning mathematician.
She was also in Big Bang Theory too.
Was she?
She played a physicist.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's
Yeah,
fun.
she plays Cooper's love interest, like the nerdy guy.
Okay, interesting. So in Ohio, we had the Ghoul. He played B-rated scary movie at 1 a.m. on Fridays. My dad would wake me to watch it and eat junk food. We used to have Elvira. She would do like on, I think it was on TBS or TNT. I can't remember. And she used to do like those kind of late night campy movies. And then there was also another lady, and I can't think of who she was. Oh my gosh, but she was like over the top. Rhonda something, if anybody remembers. But yeah, they don't do those very much anymore. So anyway, I'm sorry I took us down this rabbit hole, but not
I
a murder.
got way the wrong path today.
That's all right. Creature from the Black Lagoon. That's a good one.
You know, Elvira, her name is Cassandra. Um and she's done more movies than like some she's got some weird statistic about how many movies she's done, but she's still going strong. And
Yes,
in her 70s, she still looks really good.
she does. I agree. I agree. She's come together, and I don't know. So oh, thanks for highlighting that comment. It's
I
true.
knew it. I was like, hey, that's us.
It's true. I just heard something today that said if you're ADHD, I'm going to try it tomorrow because I'm barefoot now. That said if you're ADHD, one of the things, because I've always known this, like if I have to be productive during the day, when I get up in the morning, I have to do something right away. Like I have to put in a load of laundry right away, or I have to, you know what I mean? Like if I'm supposed to clean the house, I got to like do something. Then I can sit down and wake up. But
Yes, because if I sit down, nothing gets done.
same here.
Um, because I've been noticing actually this year, I'll share a little bit of something. This year, I've been actually having a problem with my ADHD where, um, I've been forgetting to eat, and I've
Mm-hmm.
been having to remember to eat properly because I was like getting to like 10 o'clock at night and then not eating anything, and I'd be like, oh, I'll eat tomorrow, and I'd go like 4 days without like having like a yogurt, and
Right.
I don't know where it's come from. It's a very recent thing. So
Mhm.
we're starting to get like make sure there's meals made and I can just heat it up and set an alarm at like 5 o'clock to eat something and things like that because it's I think it's got to do with COVID. Unfortunately, my memory's gone really crap since I had COVID like 2 months ago, and that eating issue has spiraled since then. So really trying to get on top of that myself.
It's interesting you should say that because I mean, obviously there are articles about the brain fog associated with COVID, and they are optimistic that it is temporary. And I hope it is too, because I used to, a year ago, 8 months ago, my memory was like this. The only thing I had problem with was like dates, and that is an ADHD characteristic, so I never beat myself up much about it. Um, but I mean, I was talking to my mom the other day and I was having trouble recalling like a word. Like I knew the word I wanted to use, I just couldn't. Like, and I'm not talking about like every once in a while. I'm talking about like a lot, and that's something I've noticed since COVID. Um, I don't think it's affected like eating so much because I think I had that before. Like, especially if I'm home alone. Um, I don't like to take the time to sit down and eat, or I find it to be a waste of time, or I find it to be distracting from what I'm doing, or I get bored doing it. And so, like, I'll have a bite of something, but I won't eat it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. But I agree with you about recalling small things.
Mm-hmm.
The other day I was trying to tell Mrs. Ping a story. I was like, "Hey, I saw our friend down the road," and I was like, "Our friend, what's his name?" I was like, I couldn't think of it, and like 4 hours later, I was like, "Stuart, that was his name. It was Stuart," and I was like, "Wait, 4 hours? Why did it take me 4 hours to remember our friend's name?"
Yeah.
It's so weird.
Yeah. I haven't had anything really scary except for one day I couldn't remember. Like, it's not like I couldn't remember, but it took me a few minutes to recall my dog's name. And I was like, oh gosh, this is like crazy. I mean, I could like almost like see it spelled, you know, but I couldn't process it to like come out of my. They say that it's temporary, and I hope that it is, because yeah, Lex just said they said on the local news here that COVID infections can cause brain shrinkage of 2 to 4%. Yeah. I think they're still hopeful that it's temporary. And that's what I'm going to hope for,
I'm
because
hopeful I'm only going to get it once, which is probably the biggest pipe dream ever.
yeah. No, it's funny. I woke up yesterday and I felt I felt exactly like I did the day before I tested positive for COVID the second time.
Oh my God, Amy, I had that the other day.
Oh,
I
shut
woke up on I woke up on Sunday and I had that weird feeling, like you know that weird feeling when you know you're sick?
up. Mm-hmm.
And it was the same feeling I had just before I knew I was positive with COVID. I was like, I'm sick, and I just had that split second thing where I was like, oh no, oh I'm not, because we had that red alert last week with Mrs. Ping, her
Yeah.
coworker got
Yeah.
COVID. And I was like, oh no, I've got it, and
Uh,
then it went away, and I was like, huh, that's weird. Nothing eventuated.
yeah, mine kind of went away too. Yesterday morning I was like, because my COVID symptoms weren't like the loss of taste or anything like that. You and I've talked about this. They were different, and so were yours. And I'll tell you guys this is funny, is that Ping and I got COVID at the same time, and we were like convinced that like we got it through Discord. Like somehow somehow the germs went through the internet and got, because it wasn't at the exact same time.
I
We were
tested
overlapping.
positive on Sunday, and then you told me you were positive on the Tuesday, and you're like, that's the incubation period. I
Yeah,
got it from you.
yeah, yeah. It was crazy, but I remember that my mom had come home from Africa and she'd had her surgery, and I was picking up my mom and taking her back to her house after her like recovery period. And my mom wanted to go to the grocery store, and I'm like super patient. And I remember like being like in my head really ornery, like, do you have to look at 50 kinds of peanut butter? Just get one. You know what I mean? Because I just wanted to go. And I remember like pouring out sweat, not feeling good, and just kind of like general like body aches. And then the next day I tested positive. When I woke up yesterday morning, you can still hear it in my throat a little bit. I had like the raspiness, but I had the sweatiness and the head fog and the dizziness. And I've kind of been like that most of the day. I feel like it's amazing. I did another show at what, 6:30, and you thought I was gonna die. Like it's just like I can't. But I'm not gonna break a habit. You know what I mean? So I was like, I'm just gonna push through it, whatever.
Once
Now,
you finish with this, you're done for the week. You can go on holiday.
well, yeah, that's kind of how I feel. Like I'll have it. I mean, I have other obligations and things I need to do, but um, I get anxious before I do this every time, and I like don't want to speak for you, but I'm gonna out you, and you kind of confided to me that you do too. So it's the anxiety along with like how you're physically feeling at the same
It's
time.
nerve-wracking doing these shows. You're putting yourself out there for people to sort of judge you in a way of the
Oh
content you're providing. It's nerve-wracking, but I kind of put that away. We had a lot of good feedback. I know today's show is not as crime related, but people were saying they wanted a more light-hearted show tonight.
yeah.
So we kind of went with that because I think people had a lot of true crime on their minds over the last couple of days. So we
Yes.
giving you a bit more of a fun show tonight.
Yeah. Oh, I know what I can tell you. Um, I'm not going to pull up the brief or anything, but um, oh my gosh. Hold on. Give me 1 second because it just happened. Um, I cannot believe this. The girl out of Texas that was murdered, Heidi. Hold on. I'll pull it up.
I can only think of Heidi Klum.
Yeah, I was thinking of Heidi Dowse. Okay, Heidi Broussard. Okay, so Heidi Broussard was living in the Austin, or I'm sorry, the Houston area of Texas, which is Houston or Austin. She was in Houston, and she came up missing. They suspected her husband at first, and as it turns out, it was her best friend. Her best friend kidnapped her and murdered her for her baby. And the her best friend's name was Megan Faramushka. And we have just found out that Megan's trial is probably going to be closed. Like, we're not going to get to see it. And I think that's crazy. Or at least they had a bunch of search warrants and affidavits that came out, I think, yesterday or the day before. And anything they find is going to be closed. So we won't see it. And,
So they're sealing the entire court process, basically?
yeah, which I think is insane. And then it's the other one, Aiden Fucci, who, oh my gosh. Again, I won't bring up the court documents because it's just a lot, and it'll bring you way down. But he killed his classmate who was a cheerleader. Her name was Tristan Bailey. I always want to call her Kristen, and I need to be respectful of her name.
Oh, she was a cheerleader, right?
Yeah. And he's just, he's being charged as an adult. He is 14. He's he's 15 now, I believe. But immediately when he was arrested, he's going to be charged as an adult here in Florida. And he has all these things he filed in court the other day. He's not dealing with a psychologist. He's not going to talk to this person. He's not going to talk to that person. Everybody can go through his lawyer. I mean, he has like court mandated psychiatric stuff that he needs to do. So he wants his lawyer to be present in the room while all of this, it's kind of like, it's pretty standard for the protection of any client, I guess. But I guess it's frustrating because if you're familiar with the case, he is such a little ornery snot murderer, and his parents have been covering up for him forever. They tried to help him cover up this murder by destroying evidence. I mean, it's just like, I can't.
It's arrogance. And how does he have, like, I know you just said the parents have made him like this, basically. But I mean, that kind of arrogance at like 15, like, I killed my classmate, so what? Like, that's just disgusting, really.
Well, when they took him in, I don't know if you remember this, but when they took him in for questioning, because they figured this out rather quickly, thank God. But when they took him in for questioning, he was like sitting in the back of his cop cart, and he was allowed to have his cell phone because he wasn't under arrest. And he was like Snapchatting, like, where's Tristan?
Yeah, it's pretty disgusting.
It was.
It's one of those murders we do see a little bit in that age range of the unrequited love type thing, and then they murder their love interest. Like, I don't know. I don't know how you get in that mind frame at 15. It's crazy.
I think it was that because he had like a little girlfriend.
But it wasn't her.
No,
right?
It wasn't her. No, he had fantasies of killing.
It's crazy. I read a story today, Amy. There was a 15-year-old boy arrested for raping a 3-year-old girl.
Ooh, I saw that headline and I earmarked it. I didn't go read it because I couldn't. You know what I mean? Like,
I didn't read it either. I just saw the headline. I was like, nope, I'm not reading that. But I'm like, man, how? Like, how messed up are these kids? Like, come on.
I don't know. That begs the question, are we catching people more because we're more scientifically sophisticated and forensically and technologically, like all the cameras and stuff?
Or they're getting more brazen.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, what is it? Or are they just reported more on a global level where we all hear about it as opposed to a local paper? Or, I was reading an article this morning about people in Pennsylvania trying to get court records and how I haven't necessarily had this discussion with you, but if anybody knows, and you should, Eric from Breaking Crime with Big E, BCVE. We talk about this a lot because we both look for documents and he'll be like, oh, I need help or whatever. And I'll say, well, yeah, they should be releasing this to you, but here's why they're probably not, or here's a loophole they're using. Like, Pennsylvania just got in trouble for it. and they actually published an article in the paper about how the procedures of how to get anything you needed that was accessible to the public. Um, there's a I'm trying to think. There's a case here in Florida right now. It's too long to go into, but I'll tell you, they're in trouble right now because we have the Sunshine Law, which means like everything should be accessible to the public, with the exception of like juvenile, you know, um, and there's a county here refusing to release stuff and trying to throw this whole big thing. They just don't want to. The sheriff there doesn't want to, and he's friends with the judge who doesn't want to, and it's
Same
just
thing happened with the Brittany Drexel case.
yes.
When they arrested the guy, that police department refused to release his his arrest record,
Mhm.
and they refused to release any other documents. Yet it was against the laws in that state because it's public information, and they just went, "No, we're not doing it." And to this day, you still can't get the is it the arrest affidavit
I believe
or the
no,
warrant affidavit?
it's the results of the search warrant, right?
No, I think it's the arrest warrant affidavit
And,
that you can't get.
huh.
It's the one that basically details why they want to raid him, for what reason, and for what crime.
Why they want to search his property, or why they want?
Yeah, I think why they want to arrest him.
Oh, well, that's the arrest affidavit.
I think it's that one anyway.
Yeah, and then yeah, so people are listing off like these younger people, like Ethan Crumley. We know him from um, the shooting before Uvalde. It's escaping my mind because I wasn't prepared to talk to this. But and then we have Nicholas Cruz, who was Parkland, right?
He was the one that killed those people because no girls loved him or something. He basically thought that all women hated him.
Right. So Ethan Crumley, let me just fact check it because I'm sorry. Yeah, he's the Michigan shooter. I was going to say that, but wasn't sure. And then Nicholas Rats.
Didn't his dad work in Hollywood or something? Was a film producer?
Oh, I think I'm thinking of the wrong person. No, Nicholas is. Yeah, he's Parkland. I don't recall. I know he was.
That's it. Lux had it. Sorry, I got
Yeah,
those two confused. It's Elliot.
yeah, yeah. Nicholas Cruz was not living with his family. He was actually living with his friend's parents, and they had a deal like you have to have a job, you have to do this. He had a gun, he had to keep it locked up a certain way, like blah 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 blah. For some reason, he didn't have a home.
Right. Just got
But
those two confused. We've had so many young men do this. So
I know, I know. Yeah, and I should have known Parkland because my girlfriend that I went to high school with, her kids go to Parkland and were at Parkland when all this happened, and it was a bad day, a really bad day. It was hours before she knew if her kids were okay. So that is my contribution to adventures in true crime. It's been a little different today, but I mean, we worked it in there, here and there, right?
yeah, we got there in the end. I think it's been pretty good. It's been a tough week for a lot of different information in the true crime world, so we wanted to end on a lighter note and give everyone a break because I'm sure you guys are going to have a lot more heavy content to come in the next few hours and tomorrow and the day after. So give you
Definitely.
guys a fun space.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, it's just kind of how we want the format of this show to go. I think every time we get on here, it just gets a little bit more organic in the way that it is when we talk on the phone. So, so I'm pleased with that. And like I said earlier, thank you because the way that you all are receiving it is encouraging. And again, like anything, Ping and I will both say this. If you have any suggestions or things like that, please let us know. We've had some good suggestions on I'm just kind of like logistical problems with the thumbnail. But we're gonna figure that out. And I'm not like, honestly, I was sweating it the other day, and then I'm like, why?
It's nothing. It's nothing to be stressed over right now. And but like Amy said, we've had some really good feedback from people. A lot of nice comments. Very appreciative of those. Even people we don't know. Like we've had a couple of people who are like, I don't know you from anywhere, and I found the channel and I love it. So that's for Matt. Hi, Matt. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, not to single anybody out because we appreciate all of them, but like that comment, I don't know about you, because here's the thing, and I know like at some point we'll stop saying this because it'll be said like way too many times, but Ping and I don't get very many opportunities to talk or communicate. It's just the time difference. And so like I'll find something really exciting and I know he should be sleeping. Like even if he stayed up really late, he should be sleeping. And I'm not going to email him. And when I saw that comment, I was waiting for you, and I saw when you responded to it, and I was like, yeah, that was pure gold.
Yeah, it was very, very nice of him. But that's not the only one we've had. It was just was an interesting one because neither of us know him, and he doesn't know us either. So
yeah, no, it is nice, and for anybody that reaches out and leaves a comment, like there are other ways we could have built this channel. And we had decided that we wanted to do it from the ground up by ourselves, not mentioning it's not for any other reason because other than just to see what we could do organically and see if people would find us, see if they like the content, the style. I think it needed a little bump the other day, and I'm not saying that saying it on my other channel helped it because I don't want to be that arrogant, but I think it created a little bit of awareness just to bump it up a little bit. And but I've seen a lot of new faces, and I'm really enjoying doing it. I feel really low pressure when I do it. And I think we have some interesting conversations, and now we've got to work you guys into it. But what I was going to say is, telling your friends about it, liking the show, subscribing if you haven't already, that definitely helps us. But so does the interaction in the comments. So if you've taken a couple seconds out of your day to type something, or taken 5 minutes or 10 minutes or whatever it is, I am so grateful, and I know Ping is too, because I know everybody's really busy. So
yeah, it was very nice seeing how many comments have come through, and we like reading them, and the suggestions are cool because like we can't think of everything, and maybe you see something on the viewing side that we don't see, and we appreciate that. I think Tracy asked, what's the time difference between you and Amy? Well, so I think it's 14 hours. I think, is that right, Amy? 14? Yeah.
14 hours, yep. So we have small windows of time.
It's either we speak this time, and we can speak from about now till maybe like 2 o'clock my time, which is about an hour and a half, and then she has to go to bed. Or we speak very, very briefly when Amy gets up, and she's normally very busy in the morning. So we normally leave it till now.
Yeah, and then there's some night, before I'm not going to say that we started the show because we were on the phone all night. It wasn't like that, because we weren't even talking very often, but when we did, they were good conversations. I think it was a combination of Ping coming on my channel every once in a while and how good that dynamic worked. And then our phone conversations outside, it was like, well, because like I said, my husband gets up at 4:15 in the morning, and there were at least 2 times that Chris got up and he's like, hey, Ping, because he knows who I'm on Discord with, and he's fine with it. And it was like, okay, let's make this, if I'm going to stay up all night and talk to you, which I enjoy, and I love doing, like, maybe we can make it like productive and share it with others, because
we could do something with it. Like we could get people involved, and the reason I wanted to do this was the same reasons as Amy, but I wanted an outlet for my own thoughts and things as well. But also I wanted to find some more of my people.
Mm-hmm.
That was a big part of it. I wanted to find some more people who thought like me and Amy.
Yeah, it's I think well, it's hard for me to decipher what we've discussed before, and because our history goes beyond this and what have you. But for me, like there's nobody really around me. Like it kills me. Okay, I have a really really good friend that like back when I could, we used to go to brunch together, and super into true crime, but she's like doesn't sub to my channel or whatever, and then she'll like post on Facebook about a case and get everything wrong, and like Christy, oh, I just added her, but I love her, you know. And then I have another friend that's a really good friend, and she's the same way, and I'm just like, okay, well, nobody wants to come over here and talk about it, and I can't talk about it in real life, and Chris is watching Lifetime, you know, like, and When Harry Met Sally, which are great movies, but you know, um, my kids are into video games. Like my mom is into it, but not. I think she relies on me like to tell her about stuff rather than. I mean, she does some of her own stuff, but you know what I mean. So yeah, it's nice to find your own little niche. And like when you talk to one of the great things about true crime and having a dialogue is that like my friend that I talk to on the phone quite often, she lives out of state, but her and I talk, and she always says that she's like, we can look at the same set of documents and we can both pull like different points and views out of what the language that they're using. And we shock each other because I'm like, oh my God, I've read them like 5 times. I didn't even think of that. And she'll say that to me too. So super fun. So I think that's important. And you have some really great insights, and you make me think differently about something. And I appreciate that. I like that. I come from a background of people that discuss things and know that some things are subjective, and I don't get I like opposing opinions, not because I want to argue, but because I want to know what you're thinking and why you think that. I find that
Yeah. And it doesn't happen all the time. A lot of the time we're on the same page, but
Mhm.
you know, there are things that we don't agree on, and there's things that we come with different ideas about, and we're like, well, I think it should be like that, and you're like, well, it could be like that, and we're like, oh yeah, yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah, for sure. So, are we ready to pack it up for the night?
Yes, I just want to give an update so people don't ask about this.
Sure.
Um, we're still working on the Long Island serial killer recording. We're gonna figure that out. And I'm doing a write up for Lynn Dawson. It probably won't be until next week now.
Okay.
There's some stuff going on in that case that I just want to read a little bit more into it, and then I'll do a bit of an expose for people who have never seen it. So,
That works for me. Sounds good. All
all
right. You
right.
guys. Good night, Ping.
Good night, Amy. Good night, chat. Thanks for coming.
See you on the flip side. And it'll be 9 o'clock next Tuesday. Stay safe, and we look forward to seeing you soon. Good night.